Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever you're tuning in, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Mark Wagner, your host, DentalBytes. It's my favorite. It's my absolute favorite when I have folks come and hang out, have a, what might be possibly a beer, but we don't drink on this show. We don't. Today, I've brought somebody in, somebody very close, somebody that's like far magnitudes, has way more intelligence than I do. This conversation's going to be well over my head. Maybe. Nah, right? We'll keep it simple. Without further ado, before I say, I just butcher these all the time. Like I need to develop some sort of plan. I've got Nish Sampath here in studio. How you doing today, my friend?
Fantastic. Glad to be here, Mark. Thank you.
Yeah, we came in together, so I already know how you're doing, right? So, man, oh man, so I don't even know where to enter here. Like your world is, you're shoulder to shoulder with founders, right? Describe in the layman's terms for the listeners a little bit about what you do, like at a 30,000 foot view. Let's start there.
Okay.
And let's just see where this goes.
Sure. Yeah. So Switch Advisory. So we are a team of fractional chief operating officers. So we are a group of executives that essentially parachute into companies when they need some support with their growth. They're already growing too fast potentially, and they need the tools and processes in place. So we work across a broad range of industries, including medical, dental, tons of technology, manufacturing, engineering, professional services of all different types like accounting and legal. And we help get founders and CEOs out of the weeds and help them get their companies growing by pointing the ship in the right direction.
Yeah, that's how I understand it. Good, because I'm on the right track. That's awesome. What common themes are you seeing out there? And first of all, cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
I appreciate it. Thanks for coming out all the way from Calgary. This is the purpose of your trip, right? Obviously,
of course.
What are some common themes that you're seeing amongst your, let's say, early stages? Why would somebody come and see you?
That's a great question. I think there's some pretty specific inflection points that happen in a company where they're thinking, hey, we might need some external support, and we don't want an advisor just to tell us what to do, or a coach that's just going to kind of, again, tell you what to do from the sidelines. We want somebody in the weeds to do it with us because we don't have the bandwidth and the time to do it ourselves. And those seem to be we're plateaued a little bit. We're not sure why we're stuck operationally, right? We know things are a little bit on fire and we're putting out the fires too often. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's around succession planning. So new leaders coming in, new leaders going out. How do we bridge the gap and help these folks kind of succeed in the new role as they're coming in? Sometimes it's hyper growth. So you've bought or merged with another company, or you're frankly just doing awesome and you need to put the tools in place so you can scale effectively. So we've had, a couple of inflection points that we find across the industry. Mm-hmm,
mm-hmm. Oh man, that must be some pretty interesting work, and it's all driven by people, right? People, and then obviously systems in play, a big deal. Do you dissect what's the starting out process? Do you sit down with the team and just kind of work out all the variables and then take it from there, kind of thing?
It's great, yeah. I mean, we kind of built this methodology, and it helps us get into companies pretty quickly and make a little bit of a difference in a short period of time. And it's based on what we like to call is kind of like agile startup tools along with corporate blueprint tools, and we combine that with a lot of the operating system functions that you find in the entrepreneurial operating system playbook and the Rockefeller habits. But we go into a company and we look at their value chain. So from sales and marketing through to client execution and all the way through to finance and legal at the back end, we say, where are those opportunities for improvement across the entire value chain that makes sense. And then we have to prioritize that, because there's probably only 2 or 3 things that are going to truly move the needle, right? From a revenue perspective or an operating cost or a cost of goods sold perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to focus. It's all about totally focusing our energy. There's tons of stuff you can do. And frankly, that's where most leaders get lost, because they know what to do. They just do too much of everything and not directly target those incredibly important, hyper important opportunities for improvement. So we just figure that out.
And it's always, would you say an exact sort of not letting go of the tools? Like what are like the, what are the common things that you're seeing when you're getting into like starting onboarding with a client?
9 out of 10 problems are people problems.
Yeah.
Do you have the right people in the right seats? Mm-hmm. We do what we call the GWC test, which is an EOS test, which is, do those individuals get the role that they're in? Do they want the role that they're in? And do they have the capacity to do that work?
Because it's you want people to have purposeful, like we talked about this on the way in, right? It's people want to have like feeling like they're having an impact. They're valued. How do you circumnavigate that kind of thing? Like, is that must be the hardest part of all, like the whole process.
The biggest problem is, leaders think the goal line is here, and your team thinks the goal line is here. You're literally kicking in different directions.
Yeah.
And so we have to line them up on why. What is the why?
Yeah.
That everybody's fighting against.
I love the Simon Sinek, man.
Yeah.
Like seriously. It's informs like so many like real genuine business models, right? It's truly is like, I think if you don't have that why, it's just a recipe for burnout too. Would you agree?
100%. I think, we find staff in different companies, they're fighting so hard. They think they're winning, right? But their why isn't lined up with the leadership or whatever, the executive team. And, the other person, that leader, thinks they're working really hard, but not accomplishing what they want to. Your team is working really hard, and they think they're accomplishing what they should, and that totally leads to burnout all the time. Mm-hmm. If we're just fighting in the same direction because we've actually come together and said, what is our why? Mm-hmm. It makes life so much easier.
And what do you do in a situation where the whys are in line, but the data suggests that things are not going according to plan? Like it's the sort of the flying the airplane blind sort of situation. There's a lot of folks out there that are not measuring their business from an analytical standpoint. Is like I see that on our front all day long.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
Constantly. I mean, I think the biggest challenge we talked about previously was people are pretty blind to their financial situation. Mm-hmm. Even if they're making a lot of money and the business is seemingly doing well, they don't actually understand where the bleed is, what's happening in the company. But you can look at that, frankly, from the entire value chain. Like, what parts of the value chain are worth measuring to tell you if you're healthy or not? Mm-hmm. And are we assigning accountabilities to people and measuring specific things against those accountabilities? Right, so you actually know if you're doing well in your role, which is an incredibly important and satisfying piece of information to know.
Absolutely, yeah. And I also see, like, to play the devil's advocate too. There's a lot of folks that fixate on the numbers, and they sort of miss the magic, the X factor stuff that swirls around it too. We can get to, like, in the medical world too. Like if people are looking at their data too deeply. And what's driving the business, right? Like I think that's sort of what should be fixated on, is that sort of what drives the business and where's the opportunity, and then point the ship in that direction and then build everything around that.
Too many measures is useless, right? Too much information almost leads to too much choice, and as humans, we don't deal well with choice. Right?
It's true. Even in my world, like advertisement, you do not want to suggest more than 3 options. And actually, you use that third option as like, I have to take away one of the first 2 options if we introduce the third. So simplification, like how important is simplification?
frankly, our entire business is built on it. We're
Yeah.
not rocket scientists. We are using very simple tools. And it's truly just about exercising the muscle, right?
Yeah.
People know what the thing is that they should be doing. Leaders know that oftentimes. It's, the analogy we like to use is you're going into the gym,
Yeah.
and you can get a workout plan and go into the gym and feel really great about yourself and do it once, and then you're done and you never go back.
Yeah.
We are that individual who's in there helping you make that routine every single day. So we're doing those very simple practices on a routine basis. And that is what gets you growth and success in the long term.
Yeah. What are sort of the misconceptions that you see out there about what you do? The CEO, Fractal CEO, like what's sort of lay the foundation straight here, on that.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest challenge is Fractional COO is a new industry practice, right? So people think that maybe we are just advisors who are going to, hand you over a PDF or a PowerPoint deck and tell you what you should be doing, or, coach you from the sidelines on a monthly basis and say, here's the stuff that is important in your business. And frankly, we've built our practice around being in the weeds, right? We actually think it's quite fun learning about companies, working with actual human beings, and making a really significant difference in their lives and their companies. I think that's the biggest misconception is they don't realize that we become a member of their organization for that 6 to 12 months or whatever that engagement period looks like.
Mm-hmm. And it's like you mentioned it earlier too, like how important it is to identify that inflection point, right? That seems to be like the critical point where you would come in and make sure that everything's like, especially when there's like mergers or anything like that happening, making sure that you start off on the right track. Like how things are exponentially compounding over time, and if you're heading the wrong direction, like how fun is that for you to come into a situation where you point these things out and you're literally like probably giving years back to these people, like life-wise, because their stress level,
Yeah, I mean, clients call us because they're saying, hey, we can't take vacation, right? We don't get out of our company. We're thinking about it every single night. And I get it. You're an entrepreneur. You're a business person. You're going to think about your company every night and every day. But that ability to like release, trust your people, trust that the process and the machine that you've built is actually going to succeed without you sitting there day in and day out. That's truly where we win, right? Like where we can feel that joy.
Nish, how do I do that? How do I let go? Man, it's tough, isn't it?
It is.
And I think you need to sort of have the systems in place that you can chill out a bit, right? Like how long does that take to get there from scratch? Like sometimes more than it depends on.
It depends on the company and the complexity and what are we trying to solve in every company, right? We were with some oral surgery clinics, for example, and that's around lining up the partners, right? Making sure the partners are actually fighting in the same direction and that they have a clear kind of idea of where they want to go with their partnership and their various clinics. So generally, we're probably in there for 6 to 12 months, sometimes longer, depending on the size and complexity, right? If it's you have a 100-person organization with multiple locations, it takes time to kind of build that consistency of practice across different sites. But that's, our ambition is to be able to replace ourselves effectively, right? We build this machine and then we hand it off to somebody to just maintain it going forward.
Yeah. What does that look like after the fact? After you guys have said and done, signed and sealed, and you're on your way, do you hear back from folks that things have kind of fallen off track, or there's new variables that come into place?
There's
you're back
always
in?
new variables, but we try to maintain
the foundational piece of it also.
The foundational piece, plus we try to maintain relationships with our clients where we're still coaching them after the fact and having that. I have 3 ex-client calls next week, for example, where we're just going to go through and make sure things are humming and they're continuing on with the practices that we set in place. But it's all about replacing ourselves with good human beings and making sure the rest of the team is strong, right?
Yeah. What do you like in your experience? What are of the 4 pillars? If we're talking about people, strategy, execution, or cash, what's the most neglected?
That's great. I mean, I think honestly, I think oftentimes you'll focus on people, right? Depending on what your baseline aptitude is. If you're a people person, you'll focus on people. If you come from a financial background, you make sure the books are clean. But I would say, honestly, finances, interestingly enough.
Yeah.
Right? Just not really understanding where the money is, and not just revenue and expenses, right? That's too easy. But looking at the value chain of an organization and saying, okay, what parts of the business are generating revenue? What are the expenses? What are the costs of goods sold and operating costs associated with each part of that value chain? Mm-hmm. Are we getting the return on all of those elements in combination?
Right. When you're kind of assessing like growth readiness, what are the biggest red flags?
Red flags is you don't know where you want to go.
Okay, so not just having zero idea of what growth means, and just in general.
Well, I think you can't grow without direction.
That's interesting.
Right.
That's like how hard. So that part of that is you're kind of finding that vision with them as well.
Mm-hmm. We do a lot of it is let's paint that picture.
Yeah.
A lot of historically experts like to say let's paint the picture for 10 years out, and we've kind of shrunken that window because, frankly, with technology and AI and all of the disruptions today, 10 years is a long time.
Honestly, it blows my mind. If we talk about tools that you can implement into a business, it's like marketing, accounting, legal, everything. It's like how do you keep up, right? And I think that's kind of like everybody's own personal. I think the folks that figure it out are the ones that are going to be sort of the business leaders. Like how much of that goes into it too, the readiness for the future.
Well, coming back to the vision point, I think we only paint that picture at 3 years because we don't know what's going on beyond that, right? Yeah. It's just too hard to tell.
Yeah.
But we should be able to put ourselves in a frame that says, okay, here's where I want to be in 3 years.
Yeah.
Right. And then we kind of got to back that back down and say, okay, we have very specific, tangible yearly goals. Mm-hmm. And then we back that all the way up into quarterly objectives and key results. So we only work in 90-day windows.
Right.
Our brains really focus on that 90-day execution cycle.
Right.
Thinking about it too far out from that.
That's so true, isn't it? Like it's and the fact that things are proceeding at such a crazy clip. Yeah.
Direction changes too often.
Are we all just kind of flying by the seam of our pants? My next question is about chaos. I heard something the other day. I forget who it was. It's somebody very credible. I think it might have been even I forget. It was a CEO from somewhere. Anyways, it's not important. But they're just new and upcoming, and their business is doing absolutely awesome, and they're meeting people from all walks, and they're everybody's doesn't have it figured out. It's kind of chaos. How the hell do we combat chaos? Is it a proper plan? But a plan can be broken. Is it sort of your readiness for anything going to come your way sort of thing, right?
So I think there's opportunity in chaos, number one.
Yeah, that's
always.
True. That is true.
Right. So yes. I like to look at chaos in a positive light. But having said that, I think
you see O'Leary licking his chops when anything awful's happening. It's a terrible thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, the hedge funds are going crazy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But I think it kind of comes back down to maintaining some level of mental focus. There's going to be a lot of noise, and you have to block it out and say, okay, back to what is the most important of the most important of the most important thing I'm going to do. Because chaos comes, we generate chaos in our brains because we are firing in so many different directions. We're wearing so many hats. We're doing so many tasks. We have these giant task lists, and we think we have to do everything. And it comes back down to you don't. Most of it isn't actually going to move the needle in your company. Mm-hmm. There are 3 or 4 things that you have to do in the next 90-day window. And if you do those, you will have a really significant impact in where you want to go.
I think we're all our own worst enemies too. Hey, how much of the problem is kind of self-projected? I'm so guilty of that. Like I know for sure. Like, how do you? See, these you get the little. Anyways.
The constant vibrations we talked about.
Like that, what a perfect timing for that, right? Derailment. How are you, what are you telling to these leaders to trust in the process and just having the confidence that everything's going to be okay, when everything's on the line, is that different? Do you kind of are you looking at things from a, psychological standpoint where you're addressing the type of character that you're dealing with and how they're going to be successful? There's some of the analyzing the people too, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, where do they want to be? What is their zone of genius? What things does actually bring them energy?
The zone of genius.
Yeah. What takes it away?
I love that. Yeah. What keeps them up and for the good reasons.
Exactly. Right. I think we have to have that conversation and assessment with each of the folks.
Yeah.
Across the organization, because you want to keep them in that zone of genius. You don't want to take away stuff that gives them energy, right?
So you're coming in sometimes and you're finding out this zone of genius, and the business itself might change because of it, the focuses and things, right?
Yeah. I mean, we come into organizations where, some of the founders, they don't want to be selling. Generally often we find founders are often the best salespeople for the organization, but some of them don't want to be in that seat anymore, right? They did that at the onset of the company. They built it. Now they want to hand it off, and maybe they like to be doing some of the grinding, right? We kind of put people in 3 different mental roles of finder, minder, or grinder, right? Finders go and sell. Right?
Okay, so you're talking about hunters and the farmers. That's how I understand it.
Very similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the middle, there's this concept of the minder who's managing,
yep.
who's operating this business, right?
Yeah.
And there's always going to be a little bit of crossover between the roles. You're never going to be in completely one section.
And I think you need to have that crossover because then you're understanding the parts and how they all fit together, and you're being cohesive as a business, right?
Yeah, it depends on, who the person is and what their role is. For a CEO, you should definitely know what's going on in your company.
You'd hope so. But I've met a lot that are they're weird people. I'm sorry. It takes an interesting type of person to be in that kind of position, especially when you're talking about the tens of millions of dollars and, sometimes hundreds and thousands of people underneath you. Is it in your experience for them, how do they view it all? Do they see everything is it an accounting numbers thing, or are they, concerned about what's success? What has been sort of the definitive success in their minds? Has it been you've got this big corporation that's doing great things and lots of families are feeding themselves because they're the business success, or is it just a guy that the yacht guy, or is it a combination of all those things? What is your definition of success through that lens?
Yeah. So I mean, for me, we two parts to it. For me personally, I just like working with really smart people who are doing innovative things.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter, quite frankly, what industry, because we can find these cool innovations across industries. It's about learning all the time with really cool, innovative leaders and helping them succeed, right? Once we see, for an example, we worked with a company where the rainmakers didn't have confidence in their own company to execute when they sold. And so they stopped selling. And we came in, and after 6 months, we were able to clean up their account management, project management, and implementation process to a point where they said, okay, we can go and sell again. And one of the founders hadn't taken a day off in 3 years.
Oh, man.
And she took a month off after we left, right? That's success for us, where we can come out of that and be like, okay, we actually created significant impact in a company. And we have, frankly, lifelong friendships with these people now, because we've we had the blood, sweat, and tears with them for that period of time to really change that.
Well, I think you would need to dive in that kind of deep of a plunge with somebody to really kind of get to the crux of it all. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
And founders know that they're often the problem, right?
Hey, man, like honestly, I think getting away from the finger pointing and really, I think self-evaluation is a healthy, like I think people neglect to do that. Even, I would argue that they're not happy because they're not, addressing the core issues that they quite possibly are leaching into their business or their lives or everything.
Yeah, I mean they're probably working in ways that are inconsistent with their own values.
Yeah,
and that seems to be the challenge. And we've started to really focus on. I used to think the concept of values was fluff, frankly.
Yeah,
and then I had some experiences with clients where I was like, no, it is the most important thing. We have to be incredibly clear on what the founder CEO's values are, what the company's values are, and we have to align the organization with that.
Yeah.
And we have to align people who are working in the company and the roles they're doing and the customers that we're taking. It all has to be aligned with that set of values.
I will echo that. And what I've seen is, and values aren't just like a poster up on the wall. Like core values is this is what we're all about. It's how people feel on Sunday night when they got to come back to work, right? That's where that stems. And, values and all that, that's how people are like answering the phone, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's how we're greeting each other, right? Like if the CEO's coming in and you haven't seen the CEO in 3 months, it's a big company, they're not on site, and they don't come in with a smile. Don't
say that, because now they're not going to take any vacations, right?
But how does that make you feel, right? When you're an employee and you come in and you have this very loose interaction, and it's that negative interaction, right?
Sure. The weight of somebody like that has way more impact. Like they have to be concerned about how their presence is a big deal.
Yeah. What kind of energy are you putting out there? How is it perceived?
Yeah. Who's doing it good? Like who in your mind's eye, like across like the business world? What do you like? Who's your poster child? Like, what's your poster child business out there?
My poster child business.
Yeah.
I think there's lots of good and bad companies. I think that's a tough question, Mark. I've got a couple of clients.
I've got all the tough questions here.
I've got a couple of clients that I think are doing it really well, frankly. We have a manufacturing client. We've got a marketing agency. They're doing it really well. And I think after we get them lined up and fighting in the same direction, they really dig into some of those processes and get the people on board. And they're really making a difference in their community, right? I think for me, doing well is not just the company is doing well, but we like to add kind of a social impact element to our work.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so, one of my previous clients, they really fit that into their entire business model.
I love it. Yeah. It makes it for purposeful work, I think. Like if we can, we should. And you're talking legacy stuff, right? Now you're working towards this entity that's also doing good beyond the confines of the walls, right? Like that's cool. Like I think if more of our species was like that, this might be like a less of a cutthroat place. If we're all kind of now the community's working together, doing great things.
Yeah, and frankly, we are incredibly lucky to even be in the position to start these companies to do this work. And granted, it was an incredible amount of hard work and risk and this labor of love. But once we achieve some impact, like some financial success, it's I think an important element to then share that with less fortunate individuals.
I love it. Yeah. I do. I think that it's built into our piece too. Like, we're not here forever, right? So I think, if we have a good impact with the business, like why not have a good impact with everything that it touches, including the community, right?
We even try to build it into some of our comp structures. So if there's a bonus model within the organization, we'll name charities as one of the employees that might get some
that's
part
amazing.
Of the bonus. Yeah.
That's really cool. I really like that. Yeah. That's awesome. So, but going back to your the entity that is the business being in sync, how do you know? How do you know when it's there? Like, is it a feeling? Is it like a multitude of things, different metrics and touch points? Like, what does that look like?
Feels easy. It's rhythm, right? Easy is maybe
flow state.
Flow state, yeah. But we build a lot of it is simplicity through routine, right? You're not doing complicated things. You're making it easy just because you do it on a routine basis. You're having the same leadership conversations in the same method. You're looking at the same, marketing metrics or key performance indicators across the business.
Yeah, KPIs are a big deal.
Right.
Yeah.
You're looking at your objectives and key results and your strategy on a monthly and a quarterly basis to make sure you're actually doing the work to achieve those, right? You are having these morning stand-ups every morning to make sure that you are communicating with your team and the handoffs are really strong, right? And that you're feeling that energy and that collaboration across the team. Mm-hmm. So I think it's not a financial thing, because you can do well until you don't, right? Until things start to break underneath. It's an energy thing, right? Do you have that feeling of I'm constantly firefighting, or things are actually positive? I can focus on my zone of genius. I think we're going to grow. I'm hopeful, right? Like that is, once you find you can put that CEO, founder, and the leadership team in that position, that's success. I'm
stealing that zone of genius, by the way. Yeah. I love that. That's great. Yeah. That's good. I love that. What's in your opinion, what's the difference in between a leader and a manager?
Leader and a manager. I mean, for us, leaders are setting like really strong direction. They're coaching. They're making sure that individuals have the supports that are required to succeed. Managers, if we're being honest, they're kind of watching over you. They're just ensuring that the daily execution is happening. And we like to kind of remove ourselves from management and remove managers from management and put them in that leadership position where you're ensuring the long-term success for that individual. You're looking out for their well-being. You're looking out for where they want to go career-wise, and you're helping them get there. You're not just managing daily tasks, right? We become more outcomes-driven versus task-driven.
Yeah, I love it. It's and looking at time differently too. Mm-hmm. People sort of associate dollar signs with time, I think, and that's a misconception, especially with the implementation of AI and things like these tools coming into place. Like, time is going to become a really interesting thing.
Totally.
So outcomes, I think, is key, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, even the old kind of consulting and business models were all time-based. I charge you for an hour of my effort versus here's the impact I made.
Yeah.
Right? It should be impact-based and outcomes-based versus time-based.
Yeah. There's this little video of this graphic designer, mm-hmm. and he's like one of the best logo designers on the planet. And that's his campaign is based around, if I can make you your logo in an hour and it's like a classic, the best logo ever, and it's only taking me an hour, I'm still going to charge you $10,000 to make that logo. Like, it didn't take me a week. Like, don't associate time and I think that's sort of a key element that it's gonna be a hard concept for people to kind of to figure out.
Yeah, especially as we move to this, everything's moving to subscription based.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
We're not kind of charging by hours and minutes. We're more subscription based. And so as you do that, it is truly to effectively move to a subscription-based model in any business. You have to understand, obviously what your inputs and outputs are, but you have to figure out that time's not the equation anymore. You are truly just creating impact for your client, and you're trying to do that as effectively and efficiently as possible.
Yeah. So back to sort of the to switch and your tools and frameworks. You combine EOS and scaling up frameworks at Switch. Like, how do you decide which elements to lean on and like which for each client?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all kind of rooted in the Rockefeller habits, right? So building routine within the organization. We pick based on what a company actually needs. If you go and you look at some of these frameworks, unfortunately, because both of these models have been acquired by bigger companies, they're going to tell you have to do every single piece of it. And We don't subscribe to that necessarily. Our experience has shown that we just do the things that are most relevant for a specific company based on their challenges, right? So you don't have to have every single piece of the structures implemented all at once. Would it be nice? Absolutely.
Right.
But frankly, these take a long time. This is a lot of exercise to go through in the gym before you can actually put it all in place.
Right. And OKRs and scorecards are, a bit of a buzzword. Would you agree? Like, what are the biggest mistakes company are making when they're trying to implement something like that?
Too much.
Too much. Yeah.
Always too much, right? I think it comes down to, yes, you can't manage what you don't measure, but what do you need to manage and what do you need to measure, right?
Yeah.
From an OKR perspective, if you have too many objectives and you're trying to do too much, you will do nothing.
Yeah.
You spread yourself too thin, people burn out, your teams are not effective because they still have jobs to do. And frankly, you get nowhere, right? And so whenever we're leading these workshops, it's thank you. That was nice that you had this broad sheet of things we can fix. But then we got to focus back onto that most important of the most important of the most important thing.
Right.
There is only a few things that we need to do every 3 months that are truly going to move the needle.
Right.
And getting that laser focus is absolutely paramount in success.
Like, how much time are we just making work to just be busy? Right?
I mean, we do that all the time, right?
I'm very good at that sometimes.
All the time. Like, even I'll find myself, after I've done the work that I know is the most important stuff, I will start giving myself more work.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out how to get to a place where I actually say, no, I've accomplished what I actually needed to accomplish. How do I reset, relax, take a little break? It's summertime, go outside, go for a walk, and almost structure that into the conversation as these are now the most important things.
Yeah.
My personal, mental, and physical health.
Yeah, like a tequila and a steak, right?
Like a tequila and a steak.
Love it. So we're time flies so fast, right? That's crazy. We're through 2025. Like, are you following everything that is AI and all the tools that are available out there?
I'm trying to. It's overwhelming.
It is.
But
yeah.
I think a lot of it is, I think we're just looking at it too much from a tool perspective and not like, are the companies actually ready for it? What do we need it for in our specific organization?
Yeah.
Because you can get overwhelmed.
There is a wild amount of tools out there, and there might be one that you can spend thousands of dollars a month on, that there's a new one coming up that's free, right? Yeah. It's growing so quickly. Do you think companies are going to fall behind if they're not looking at implementing some form of AI in their automation? There's even for, this one blew me away. So a big time waste for the dental practice is the front end reception calling up the insurance companies and staying on hold and figuring out sort of, people's policies and stuff. There's now an AI that stays online with the insurance company and handles all that and implements it right into the practice management software.
It's fantastic.
Like, how cool is that?
That is really cool.
Yeah.
And there's specific, super value adds where it takes people out of like the dirty, grindy stuff, right, that they don't necessarily want to do.
Yeah.
And truly the value add, which is like, human interaction, frankly. Like, how do you just spend more time with people?
Yeah. I think you nailed it. I think like the more that we can kind of implement these tools and spend face-to-face time. If there's anything that COVID taught us, like, yes, we can do all this great online stuff, but like, honestly, my favorite thing is like having somebody come to the studio, right? Like, there's this kind of this foundational human element to working with somebody face-to-face. Like, how much is a threat of these, like the folks that, or the companies that allow people to do stuff at home? Like, how much does that impact? And I'm probably not going to get roasted for this because it's such a nice perk, right? Yeah. But like, how much does that take away from like the team culture and like just kind of walking over to somebody else's desk and figuring out, like, sitting together and working on a solution for something?
Yeah, I think it's company specific. Like, what are you doing? What kind of products are you manufacturing?
Sure, yeah.
How much zone time do you require as a human being?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Zone time. I love it.
I think there's, right? Like, I think there's some organizations that can benefit significantly from it, but making sure you do have opportunities to break the bread with someone, have a face-to-face conversation occasionally actually create a human relationship, right, beyond work, I think that's super powerful, right? When you can, and I love to make sure we do that quarterly at a minimum, even for remote teams, right? Like how do we bring people together quarterly to actually have that, maybe volunteer together, do something really cool, because what used to be, online meetups, everybody wants in person now. So they want to have that human interaction. They don't want to just be stuck in the basement. I'm stuck in my basement. Right?
Same here. I'm in a bedroom, a little office. Like the isolation part is like, there'll be some days that I'll just head down for weeks and not see other people, like I'm growing out a beard now. I'm kind of irritable.
I'm growing a mullet because no one can see it on Zoom calls.
Right? It sucks. Like we don't have a camera angle to pick it up. I'm sorry. We should have a mullet cam,
we should.
Sorry. Next time. How do you see your own business evolving in the next 3 to 5 years with the way things are going? Like, taking a look at your own fronts.
Yeah, I think, a lot of the tools that we develop to help facilitate work for our clients is going to be facilitated through AI, realistically, right? And I think there's also, from our engagements, it's already starting to shift to, okay, I want to implement AI. What does that mean for my company? How do we start to engage with that? And today it's looking at your value chain. What are the processes? What can actually be optimized through technology and AI? Do you have the data available to support some of this? Is it structured? Do you have the people that are capable of using the technology appropriately?
That's a big deal too.
Yeah.
That's a huge deal too. Like, it's technology is like buying a sports car. Like you're buying a sports car for all the gadgets inside. If you're not using all those things, then you're not getting the full value out of whatever tool that you're spending on. Like I see a lot of redundancy too, and there's overlapping on tools that kind of do the same things and all that kind of stuff.
Truly. And then, how do you move beyond just kind of, LLM based, queries to write a, story for you or a post versus agentic AI that's truly going to actually impact workflows in your company. Yeah.
And you're like, what have you seen being sort of an impactful piece that everybody should have in this day and age? And like, obviously, ChatGPT has been like at $20 a month.
Yeah.
Like the amount of value that it's incredible.
I think experimentation, right? Like if you are not riding the wave and a part of it, the wave's just going to crush you and take you over.
100%.
Right. Yeah. And I think so. I think if you're too fearful of it, right, you're going to run into some of those challenges where you are going to get left behind very quickly.
Yeah.
If you are experimenting, if you're curious, if you're preparing your organization and your team, not just you, right? Because that fear, uncertainty, and doubt, that FUD can set in pretty quickly. Oh, my job's going to go. But not necessarily true. Like, how do we empower people to start experimenting and using that in their daily lives and their work?
Yeah.
So they're riding the wave versus getting rolled over by it.
And I think, if we talk about evolution itself, like I think business takes that route too. And the winners out there evolve. Like the world is not a static place. Like it's forever changing. Like almost like you said, every 90 days things are flipping over. Like we talk about like paradigm switches. Like the amount of change that I think that AI, the impact that it'll have, I think it'll be bigger than the Industrial Revolution. Like I don't think people really realize like what we're embarking on. It's crazy times.
Yeah, and it can be fear-inducing, right?
Sure,
right?
Absolutely. But I think change in general is just has a habit of bringing on that fear because people are happy. They've kind of got to this flow state. They see it as sort of like a threat to that almost, right?
We become complacent, right?
Yeah.
We like our daily routine, the thing we do. You switch it up, you introduce a new variable into it, whatever that looks like, even a new human into the organization.
Yeah.
And people are like, whoa, what are they here for? What's going on?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you got to get ahead of some of that with your teams and with your people and with yourself and make sure you're just like learning, experimenting. So it's not something that's being done to you. It's you're part of it.
You're implementing it.
Yeah.
That makes total sense to me for sure. Cool, man. Cool. Like coming into this conversation, obviously we booked this a while ago. Like, what things were sort of resonating through your mind? Like, what pieces I talked to you about what your top of mind stuff is, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just, you and I chatted about this. One is, how do we create physical communities, right? So and do better together, right? I think as a lot of this technology starts to seep in, we need to, come together and support one another.
And I think, I see, I don't know if you're seeing this too. I'm seeing things like fragment into all these like very niche specialties now, like where I was actually, the other day I was with a couple of my hockey buddies or whatever. We're sitting at at this local craft brew pub. It's called the Barley Merchant. We should actually pop in there for a pint after this. The owner was there, and he talked about there's a local group that he's a part of where it's all these business owners that they're collaborating. So he's got, like, if there's a guy that does marketing, they all work together in this group of folks that have the best interests, and they like meet every month to have like what's on their front, what's going on their front sort of deal. So I've like, can I come?
Yeah.
So I've been invited to go to this group, which is pretty fun. But like, how important is that too? Like, we've all got our heads down, and we're our horse blinders on. How important is to like understand the things that are going on around us when there's so much. Like, what do you do? Do you like a podcast? You like to read?
I love podcasts. I started a community called the Fractional Officers of Calgary, the Fockers.
Love it. Yeah.
So that essentially it's fractional executives from kind of all different variety of skills and industries and expertise. So marketing, finance, legal, whatever that might look like.
Yeah.
And we just come together to share ideas, right? Like what's going on in your space. What should we know about, how are you working with clients? What's being effective, right? Creating those kind of touch points and those collaboration points is super important. And just back to the physical presence and people relationships, share your knowledge, share those opportunities.
Yeah.
That's huge.
I think we're coming into that age. Like, I think because we're becoming more specialized, I think it's in our best interest to share more.
Yeah.
Like you might have some competitors that, like, even with competitors too, like, I think because you're going so niche, there's plenty of fish in the sea. Like, I think, I
think we win together, frankly. Yeah. Right.
And I think you told me about this book too, like Red Ocean, Blue Ocean. Like, it's like it's becoming more of a blue ocean. I think people are by default, I think, and like the access to like tools and things like that. Like a group of 3 to 5 people can really have a huge impactful business model that's doing great things, like with even just a small group.
Yeah, I think and we all have something pretty cool to bring to the table, right? So how do we find like-minded individuals that actually we jam with, we got good energy with?
Yeah.
The people that I like to keep around my inner circle, as we talked about.
I got one right here.
Yeah,
he's a good one.
But the people we like to keep around our inner circle, you and I, for example, right?
Yeah,
like we go through the same battles, the same ups and downs. It's not easy starting companies, doing the kind of work we're doing. And so learning from one another, right? Not being arrogant in the idea that we know everything.
No,
frankly.
yeah. That's not good communication style. Yeah. But like, I value you and your brother like immensely. The time that you like, I do really take in what you guys have to say. Like, I cherish your guys' friendship, like, more than I think I
thought it was just the tequila.
Well, that's what it's, that's what's driving it. It's like the booze, right? But no, man, I really appreciate you. And
likewise. Thank you.
Man, thanks for being here, coming in, and final thoughts. Like, what's top of mind? Like, what's sort of the comes to mind when you summarize the whole picture of things?
I think it's just as kind of executive leaders, people leading these companies, a lot of it is around finding that mental space to to think about what's next, right? Getting yourself out of the weeds, giving yourself, a little bit of breathing room to consider, how are we going to deal with the change that's coming forward? How are we going to continue growing our company? How are we going to manage more effectively in our companies? And too often, we just do too much, right? We don't figure out what's the most important thing to do. But once you do, you kind of limit your scope and you say, listen, this is what I need to do as the leader. You start to open up that space around, hey, I can prepare mentally. I can give enough mental energy to thinking about what's next. And I think every leader needs to be able to do that.
I love it. And very importantly, how does one get in touch with you?
Yeah. Look us up at switchadvisory.com. Feel free to reach out anytime. We'd love to chat and support your organization. And if it's just some advice and sharing ideas, very happy to do that as well.
I'm going to book Calendly's great. I'm going to book a call. Just kidding. I've got a direct line to you already. My friend, thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
This was great. Let's go get ourselves a pint.
I love it.
Hey, what do you say?
Thank you.